Okay, we're talking about The Last of Us video game. Not the new one, the old one, the part 1. This is not a game review video. It's more of my experience playing the game and the stuff that stuck with me from the experience. To be more specific, I'd say spoiler warning, but we don't do warnings here. We just jump right into stuff. Oh yeah. Ow. My first impression before playing was that this is yet another zombie game. But since it's Naughty Dog's, only the best game making company in the world, I knew the gameplay was going to be epic, even if the story stuck. 10 minutes into the game and I was sobbing my nose out. More on that later. The story follows Joel, our main protagonist, somewhat grumpy, somewhat oldish badass, living in a military-enforced, locked-down, fallen city of Boston, North America. 10 years after the zombie apocalypse. Government keeps everything under heavy surveillance, nobody goes in and out, rations are limited, and living conditions are bad. This is where Joel comes to the rescue. Him and company smuggles goods in and out of the city, for a price, as a way of making a living for themselves. Technically, he can leave anytime he wants, so it's not much of a lockdown for him, but the world outside is a wasteland filled with mindless infected zombies. As well as other humans, the bandits, the hunters, the baddies, preying upon travelers for resources. Roads and highways are jammed with overgrown plantation, powerless and dead battery vehicles. Cities are ghost town and the weather isn't all that kind either. Sort of like when you don't clean your room in weeks. To get the gist of it. You know how when you borrow something to a not-so-friendly friend, like maybe a video game controller, because you lack the super useful art of saying no, who then borrows it to his friend to possibly gain his favors? And now you have to confront and ask a total stranger to get back your controller. And they're like, well, what are you gonna give me in exchange? Dude, it's my controller in the first place to begin with. I don't need to trade anything. Well, I let our mutual friend borrow my stuff for this, so I'm not giving it for free. Fine, what do you want in exchange? Well, same thing happens to Joel after a gun deal goes wrong and now he must smuggle something outside of the city to a group called Fireflies to get his guns back. Meet Ellie, our second protagonist, a 14-year-old, kinda smart for her age, bold, authentic, unfiltered, sweet, sympathetic girl who never really knew the world before the zombie apocalypse. She is what Joel and company are smuggling. They reach outside the city to meet Fireflies, but the government military took care of them. Because we are badasses too. The deal is off, but this is where Joel and his partner Tess decide to take Ellie to Firefly's major location to the extreme west across the whole freaking country. Why? Because fun fact, Ellie is infected and immune to the virus. And the Fireflies intend on making a potential vaccine. This has been the first spark of hope humanity has been given after 10 years of fight for the day-to-day survival. Joel is implored by Tess to follow this through after buying the duo time to escape from the military, dying in the process. This is where the journey to the west begins. The world has fallen, nature has taken over most of the cities, millions of scary infected and ruthless bandits looming around every corner of uneven treacherous roads. But it's still an adventurous journey. The duo starts off cold, but eventually bond over stuff like zombies wanting to eat them. Ellie, they attack you too, but you are infected. Should they not just pass you by?
What am I supposed to do?
Hunters and bandits trying to shoot them to steal their stuff. Battling starvation with cheap cold canned food. Getting tired of walking and stuff. The joy and happiness of finding resources that will help them survive. And the fact that they both pretty much depend on each other for survival. Both of them being pretty reliable and generally good personalities adds to this newfound friendship. But they also kill, so there is that. And when I say kill, I don't just mean shooting at bad guys from a distance. I mean taking a modified pipe and a wrench with scissors and spikes duct taped on it and swinging it with full force to bash enemy skulls like watermelon, which is one of Joel's go-to weapon for close combat situations. Wicked dude, I know, but it makes for a pretty fun gameplay. Anyways, it's a violent world and survival is hard. You fight back or you get smashed. You You can't blame them for wanting to, well, survive. Sure makes me appreciate my boring normal life. And then there is this other thing, the whole sobbing after 10 minutes into the story thing. You see, 10 years ago when the virus broke out in the first few cities, the government military, in order to contain the virus from spreading, started executing all the infected as well as the non-infected that lived on the impacted zones. Joel, while trying to make it out of the city with his brother, lost his 10-year-old daughter to the firing military squad just a few hours after she gifted Joel a wristwatch as a birthday present. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Joel always keeps the watch on his wrist, even though it has stopped working after 10 years. And needless to say, he is pretty overprotective about it. It really goes without saying, Joel sees his daughter in Ellie, and even Ellie never had a parental figure in her life, and it's something she longs for. As a player and observer, you can't help but see the duo of Joel and Ellie as father and daughter. Throughout the journey, it becomes very clear how much they have grown to care for each other, like a family, and it's sweet, even though none of them really wants to admit it. After traveling across the country, Joel and Ellie reaches Joel's brother Tommy, who lives with a whole community of folks in a giant camp, which is basically like a paradise in relation to the outside world. Joel hands Ellie to Tommy, who is a former Firefly member and knows where to take her to ensure her safety. Disagreed, disappointed, and heartbroken, Ellie runs away on her own. Joel catches up to her, where Ellie expresses how she's been scared and alone all her life after losing everyone she ever cared about, except for Joel. It's a really heartwarming, wholesome moment in the story, after which they decide to stick together, even after they're done with the whole vaccination testing stuff. The duo borrows Tommy's horse because horses don't run out of battery, and the journey continues. After some more of smashing zombie skulls, shooting bad guys, and collecting useless garbage in the name of resources, they reach the part doctor, part military group called the Fireflies in a giant abandoned hospital building. Here they take Ellie and basically pull a "thanks for the pizza, here's your tip" on Joel. After finding out that Ellie won't survive the research, testing and the operation, Joel goes full 180 and berserk and shoots his way to the operation room. Kills all the doctor and staff, picks up an unconscious Ellie off the operation table, and makes a run for it. Also kills the Firefly member he originally made the deal with on his way out. Should have returned the guns when he had the chance, lady. Miles off the Firefly hospital location, heading towards Tommy's camp, Ellie wakes up and asks Joel what happened. And this is where Joel makes yet another unexpected decision. He lies to Ellie, basically telling her that her immunity thingy is totally useless. Tells her that Fireflies had a bunch of other immune folks like her, but they never had a luck with any vaccine, so they just stopped trying to find a cure. This broke Ellie's heart, whose sole purpose in life had been to become a Firefly and help reconstruct the world from the nightmare that is their present world and transform it to the beautiful bygone days that she never got to see. Childhood that she never got to experience. Immunity to virus was a golden opportunity and her chance of being useful and realizing this purpose. She tells Joel about the day she was bitten by an infected, along with her best friend. How after her friend turned zombie, she kept imagining she would be next, but her turn never came, that she is still waiting for her turn. Now that statement really hit me, because it hints at the severity of depression she'd been going through this whole time, to the point where not only would she have been okay with not surviving, but was in fact looking forward to it. Because in her mind, she was supposed to die a long time ago anyway. At least this is what I got from it. Feel free to correct me here. She then asks Joel to swear on what he told her is the truth. He does, to which she says... This is where the story ends. And all I could think of was, the fuck, Joel? You totally cheated humanity from getting a fair chance at recovering and finding a cure to fight off the infection. On top of that, after all the struggles and obstacles the duo have been through to reach their goal, Joel basically made it mean nothing and took away Ellie's moment to shine. And even if he did all of this to be with her, that's pretty selfish, considering she wanted to go through with the operation, which was gonna save, well, only the whole freaking world. But then the more I thought about it, from Joel's perspective, the more it made sense. Think of all he's been through in his life. From the moment he lost his daughter 10 years ago on his freaking birthday, and not even to a zombie virus, but to a government authority figure, supposedly doing it to save the world. What is saving world anyway if it means killing innocent lives? Ellie is basically life-giving Joel a second chance to save his daughter, and he cannot do anything but save her from any harm by any means. Joel does not intend to control or dictate Ellie's future. He just wishes a life for her, not death. This is exactly what any caring father in his position would do. And honestly, I am in no position to say that his actions were wrong in any way. And you know what? Sure, I may be exaggerating my experience, since we often see past experiences in golden light, but I also take into consideration this experience's influence in my life. Even after all this time, it has made me value the relationships I have with old friends and new ones alike. I now believe that if you treat someone like your family, eventually that connection deepens. And even though no one can replace your real family, these connections and friendships become sort of like your extended family. And hey, at the end of the day, we're all a giant family on this tiny green planet we call home. And we can all use some of that family love. Yep. Anyways, this is it. I basically did part 1 so I could do my experience playing The Last of Us part 2, which is why it's safe to say that that one will follow this one right away. Stay tuned. Also, thanks for watching my stuff, guys. I truly hope you like this. Honestly, my channel is pretty new and unknown, so I can really use some of that sharing this video with your friends thingy. And please do comment your thoughts and give me a thumbs up if this was worth your precious time. Thank you. Dude, this is why I love video games. You know, this Last of Us, it's not just a game. It's a unique way of storytelling that, in many ways, surpasses films and theater. You know? Yeah. Whew.